What's up, guys? I know I'm really late to the party on the J2k. This has probably been one of the more talked about paddles this year, and various reviews just kept pushing it to the back burner. But I finally had time to spend with it, as well as the J2Ti, so I thought I would just do a video comparing them for you and letting you know which one might be better for you. As a disclosure, Honolulu Pickleball did send these paddles to me for free, but no review was guaranteed. They did not pay for this review, they had no input on the video, and all thoughts are my own. However, I do have an affiliate link and discount code in the description, and when you use it, it does give me a kickback that helps support creating more reviews just like this, but it doesn't come at any extra cost to you. Anyways, the J2k and J2Ti can be purchased for $155 each, but after discount code PBStudioK, yes, that is a K at the end for Kevlar, it does drop the price of the J2k to $135, and for the J2Ti, you can use code PBStudio, which drops the price to $139. The rest of the specs for both paddles are as follows. They're both a hybrid-shaped paddle. They have a grip length of 5.5 inches, but they play more like a 5.3-inch handle. Honestly, I thought this was going to be one of the biggest reasons that would make me not want to use this paddle, but I eventually got used to it and was able to put two hands on it for a two-handed backhand. It was just slightly less comfortable than some other paddles on the market. If you are expecting it to feel like a Yola Hyperion or Carbon 1X 5.5-inch handle, then you will definitely be disappointed because it is not that long. The grip circumference is 4.125 inches, and the models I am reviewing are the 16mm, which feature a Kevlar surface with a peel ply layer for spin for the J2k, while the J2Ti is carbon fiber woven with polyester threads with the same peel ply layer for spin. So no, it isn't real titanium in this paddle, and if you want more information about all of that, you can look at the link down in the description below. The swing weight of my J2k was 113, while my J2Ti was 114, so virtually identical to each other. The twist weight of the J2k was 6.95, while the J2Ti was 6.87. RPM of the J2k was 1935, and the J2Ti was 1980. So again, a very slim difference, and that difference largely could just come down to my arm on the day, or it could even just be the difference in how gritty one over the other one was, so I would not get too caught up in that number. From the specs, you can see that these paddles have a significant amount in common. In fact, at least on paper, the only difference is the face materials that they're made of. Throughout this comparison, you're going to find that they play very similar, but the main difference is going to come down to how the paddle feels when striking the ball. The J2k feels stiff, while the J2Ti is more plush and muted. On the J2k, the ball feels like it wants to jump off very quickly, while on the J2Ti, the ball feels like it wants to sink and stay there just a little bit longer. So one of the first things to consider when picking between these two paddles is if you prefer stiffer paddles or more plush and muted. And something else I want to make clear for the rest of this video is that the differences between the J2k and J2Ti are on the more subtle side. Oftentimes when comparing paddles, they will be further apart on the control and power scale, but both of these paddles fall pretty much right into the all-court category, and they're separated by very slim amounts. If you wanted to put these on a spectrum of control to power paddles, you would find that they're very close together. So just keep in mind when you're making your decision that we're not talking about polar opposite paddles. We're talking about small changes that might make a player lean toward one paddle over the other. Now, with that out of the way, let's start with the J2k. As mentioned before, this has more of a stiff feel, which on court translates to the paddle having more pop and power at the kitchen line. So if you'd like to be offensive in hand battles or flick the ball a lot, you might gravitate toward the J2k. The stiffer and slightly more poppy nature of the paddle may come at the expense of the soft game for some players, but for me, I found it very well balanced between power and control. In fact, as of recently, my ability to reset the ball has probably been some of the best it's been all year with this paddle. Now, the J2Ti, on the other hand, having a more plush and muted feel, makes resetting the ball and dinking feel very natural without having to baby the ball very much. But this does come at the expense of pop. So you'll have less offense at the kitchen, but you are able to take bigger swings overall and keep the ball in play. Some people like to swing very freely, and the J2Ti will allow them to do that more so than the J2k. The J2Ti also gives you the perception of the ball sitting on the face longer from that softer feel as well. So for some people, being able to shape the ball on hybrid drive drops or heavy topspin dinks at the kitchen may appear easier on the J2Ti. And really guys, those are the main differences in my opinion. I've actually been a bit perplexed by all the hype of the J2Ti. While I fully agree that this is a great performing paddle at a great price, I feel like the sentiment of this paddle is that it's changing the market or that it's so much better than the J2K, when in my opinion, it just isn't that simple. Which one you choose is going to come down to the type of player that you are. For myself, I prefer the J2K. I like the extra offense from the pop at the kitchen line and really enjoy the stiffer feel. That doesn't mean it's better than the J2Ti, I think it's just different. So if you're trying to decide which one you should pick, here's how I would break it down for you. Pick the J2K if you like a stiffer feeling paddle, want more pop, you enjoy being offensive at the net, and you don't feel that you need the paddle to assist you on resets and blocks. Now, pick the J2Ti if you prefer a more muted feeling paddle, like the sensation of more dwell time through a softer face, you want a paddle that does assist you in your soft game, and finally, if you can generate your own power and don't care about the paddle helping you there, then you'll probably prefer the J2Ti. Those are how I would distinguish between each of the paddles and what type of player each is for. I'm going to emphasize this again. I don't think one is strictly better than another. I think they're very similar paddles, and it's kind of like, what flavor do you want? Do you want vanilla or do you want chocolate? They're both still ice cream, they're just different flavors. Now, thankfully with these paddles being the same shape and largely the same construction apart from the facing material, you can expect that they will both perform very similarly when it comes to the sweet spot. These are probably the most forgiving hybrid paddles on the market, and that is one of the reasons I think they've been so popular. They have sweet spots that are nearly entering that of a wide body or standard shaped paddle, but they have that extra length, which I think is really appealing. So as far as hybrid paddles go, I think these are probably the best sweet spot on the market. Now I do want to talk about durability a little bit. I have cut open a few Honolulu pickleball paddles just to see what the insides looked like. On several models, I noticed that the core was looking slightly deformed. The paddles were not crunching from my hand prior to cutting, but you can see the core does not look completely solid. This tells me one of two things. One, either I got a few unlucky duds, or two, the manufacturing of the J2K is not fully consistent and there are paddles that slip through the cracks that shouldn't. In this age where consistency and longevity of paddles seems to be severely neglected, I feel like this was important to bring up. Now, none of my paddles specifically broke during my playtesting, but if you are going to choose to spend your hard-earned money on a paddle, I want you to be able to make an educated decision. There really isn't a way for me to know if this is a larger issue or not. But given the history of many other paddles on the market, it does make me wonder. I also want to be clear, this isn't just going to be an issue specific to Honolulu. Basically, every single thermoform paddle has the chance of this happening. It's more just how often does it happen. Some companies seem to be much better at producing paddles that crush at a significantly lower rate than others. If you look at 6-0 last year, they had a decent amount of core issues early into their launch and only had a 6-month warranty. As of this year, they have bumped it up to 12 months, and I hear far less core crushing stories than I did last year. That doesn't mean it isn't happening anymore, but they were clearly confident enough to raise their warranty, and I feel like that says a lot. So anyways, use that information as you will. It's just something that I noticed when cutting open the paddles, and it caught my attention. To wrap up this review, I think both of these are very good hybrid paddles from this year. I don't think you can go wrong with picking either. It really comes down to, do you want one that will be easier to control, but a little less offense, or do you want a bit more offense and potentially sacrifice a little bit of control? Similar to what I said when reviewing the Jelly Bean, it's kind of just hard to find something to complain about performance-wise with these, unless it's something really specific related to swing weight, the paddle shape, or wanting more power. But if you like this type of shape, I think both of these cover the bases really well, and the vast majority of players would be able to play really good pickleball with these paddles. I think these are a great step up from control paddles, and they still bring enough offense and power for higher level players to be able to play with. And the higher stability for a hybrid shape, I think makes it more playable for a wide range of players. I would easily put this in the top paddles that I would take to a tournament for myself. I mean, I literally did just play in an open division tournament with the J2K and felt very confident in the paddle. So while the J2k is my preference between the two, I think they are both great and different styles will prefer one over the other. But anyways, there you guys go. That's my comparison of the J2k to the J2Ti. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video.